Welcome to the We're Good podcast, where we are celebrating the everyday brilliance of people working toward a more positive world. If you're looking for the good that's taking place around you, you've come to the right place. Today on the We're Good podcast, we sit down with our very first guest, Horton's kids, but this time it's take two. We're taking you to Horton's Hub to reconnect and reflect on everything that's unfolded over the past year, and what a year it's been. You'll hear how their very first appearance on our podcast sparked new opportunities and unexpected, exciting stories, and how this incredible organization continues to grow, launching brand new programs designed for their families by their families. It's a full circle moment you won't want to miss today on the We're Good podcast. Welcome back to the We're Good podcast. I'm Lee Ann Necessary Brownlee, your host, and we are so excited to be on location at Horton's Kids here in Washington, D.C. If you remember, and we hope you do, if not, you got to go back and listen, our very first podcast guest was Horton's Kids. And we are so excited to be here today with Ahdoot, who is the executive director, Rahaman Kilpatrick, who is very well known here as Kil.
Yes.
And you all were so supportive. You were, I don't want to say guinea pigs, but you were. You came into the studio and you were so supportive. Kil, you do your own podcast here.
Yes,
we're going to talk about that today, HK Couch. And we said, well, we hope that we get to come to your podcast studio. We hope. So today I got to take a tour. What an amazing space. You feel the energy here, you all. Thank you for having us.
Oh, thank you for having us back.
Yeah, thank you for the invite.
Oh, we're so excited.
And I will say, since the last time we did our first podcast, Kil is now our chief of staff. So I just wanted him to shout him out on that.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
That's awesome. You were talking about the new position.
Right.
But he's so modest.
I know.
Okay, that has not changed. The modesty has not changed. Erica, we hope people heard the first podcast, but in case they didn't, and everyone please go back and listen to the first one. But can you tell our audience who's tuning in today, what is Horton's Kids and why? Why does this place exist?
Yeah. So Horton's Kids, even though Kids is in the title, is a nonprofit institution in Southeast DC that works with kids and families for the long haul. So we've been around for 37 years. Kil's been here for a third of that, probably at this point. And the idea is really to provide educational attainment support, family stability support, and safety and belonging. Those for us are our three big levers of the organization. And that's really because this is a community that has been really impacted by some of the systemic disinvestment that we've seen. And so because of that, there's a lot of barriers to navigate. And I think families really like to know that there is an organization, an institution in their neighborhood that's in their corner all the time. And for the long haul, as I said, so when kids come into the program, it's a 13-year commitment at minimum. And, you know, really, if you are here long enough, you have people that come through. When they graduate, they come back. They are part of the organization. They work with the organization. So it really is sort of an extension of community, of family, and that's why we're here.
It is family. You can tell when you walk in, everyone is so welcoming, and it is in the heart of the neighborhood, right? And you have three locations.
Three locations. Yeah. So this is our hub. It's our newest location and our biggest location. And then we have two other community resource centers that are within the communities that the students are coming from and the families are coming from. So just right up the road, a half a mile. And that's really intentional. I know a lot of people are familiar with Harlem Children's Zone or models like that. It's really about neighborhood saturation, neighborhood proximity, partnering with lots of families, schools, other partners, churches, other community-based organizations within a very defined geography so that you can have an impact right here where you are. So we really put all of our resource and energy into this very specific location.
You can tell. We're going to post some pictures and let people have a little behind the scenes look, because you can tell that very intentional, everything that you have done here.
Thank you.
A lot can happen in a year. We visited with you all a year ago, and Kil, a lot has happened in a year. First of all, your chief of staff, congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
That's huge. And also, there have been, I loved how Erica had said, when you were on the podcast, it allowed you all to kind of think of your narrative. And you got to share a very important narrative. I'm just gonna let you take it from there. Killing the kids.
Killing the kids. It's been an amazing ride. You know, it started off just as, and the seeds got planted from We're Good. You know, that's where the connection went to American University and the Community Voice Lab, which enabled 3 filmmakers to come out and do 3 separate stories on Horton's Kids, which was amazing. Killing the Kids was one, directed by Ethan Baker, that kind of focused on my relationship with two of my kids. One of my kids, Taquan Pinckney, who was sadly murdered 7 years ago, and Tayon, who had recently just been robbed at gunpoint, and just to kind of tell the story, and to talk about when you say why Horton's Kids, the thing that a lot of people have to realize with that documentary is that Tayon was robbed. And for a lot of times as a young Black man growing up in this neighborhood, you feel like you only have two options. Do I try to go get a gun and get my friends and try to find the people who robbed me? Do I now carry a gun to protect myself so that this will never happen again? Or, those are usually the only two options you have. But the blessing of with organizations like Horton's Kids, he was able to come here and fall in love with the podcast studio. And now he's now part of our HK Confessions podcast, which is our teen-led podcast. So it's like, that's one of the reasons of why we need organizations like Horton's Kids throughout the world, is to be able to give kids that one more option that they usually don't have, So it's just an amazing story. It's hard for me to watch it. I won't hold you. I literally will walk out the room most times, and even talking about it sometimes, I get choked up a little bit. But yeah, it's an amazing story.
I really want people to watch it. I have watched it. I also told you I just listened to it because you hear that story and you go there. You share what it's like. Yeah. What it's like in this neighborhood, and also we see it and hear it through the voices of Tayon, and also the parents in there. Yeah,
we have A Mother's Love with Shamika Settles, which was an amazing story just about her persevering through her and her being shot, her and her children being shot in a car, which is heartbreaking, and how do you bounce back from that? And that's what I kind of love about all the podcasts. It's really about the bounce back. It's not like, I think it's in Rocky, it's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up.
Just watched that series with my son. For that message.
For that message.
So that's such an important message for our community to see. And it's sad that a lot of the children and the families we serve have been knocked down so many times at a younger age. We've all been there. You get your heart broken, you kind of build up a wall, and that's what happens to a lot of our kids. And we just want to make sure that we're providing the space and programming that they're able to get those feelings out. And so to be able to see Tayon be part of the HK Confessions that he didn't want to be at first. Like, I was like,
he didn't,
no, he didn't at all. I'm like,
he says that a little bit in the
I was like, I need you to sit there. He's like, man, I don't want to sit there. I had to bribe him. But then the next day he's like, yo, can I come back? And like, this is really like his thing now. And like, if you stay long enough, every day he'll knock on that door and come in. This is the first place he comes to when he gets here, is to come in and check in with me,
You can see why this place is amazing. Yeah, I mean, this is an amazing studio, but you can feel it, like the warmth. And you all know your families so well, Erica. You know them, and part of what you were saying in the first podcast was that I loved it when we asked you to peel back the curtain. You said, well, it is Horton's Kids. But like you just said a minute ago, it's really about the families. And you know your families so well. And you are navigating in a new landscape to be able to provide what these families need. Can you share with us also what's happened since we've been on the podcast, the first podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot has changed since the first podcast, just in terms of some of the funding streams that we've had access to, some of the policies are in place. And so for us, we've been really just trying to figure out how we persevere and establish some financial resilience through that, so that we can support our families. I think our sense is that the need is probably going to increase for a period of time, and it might be harder to acquire resources as an organization like ours, or the competition for those resources will be really strong. And so we just want to make sure that we can situate ourselves to be that anchor and that lifeline as needed, as families really are trying to navigate the things that are happening now. And so
those resources, you're talking about the resources, what are some of them?
Well, we have one thing that we did very intentionally as an organization was establish what we call a financial resilience fund, and that is really direct cash access, money set aside specifically to respond to emergency needs or crises that happen in any realm that you can imagine, maybe whether it's a medical issue, whether it's a need for transportation, whether if it's an alumni who needs assistance getting back to school or support with things. books or whatever, we have this fund that really can be accessed to close those gaps for families in any given week or month. So that is something we committed to as an entire organization. We also partnered recently with Neighborhood Share that gives more resources for that as families come up and have those needs that emerge. And so we put in those requests, and then that cash assistance gets transferred. So we're really excited about having that kind of resource. I think also a little bit of restructuring of our staff and our team to be oriented towards family engagement. One of the great things that's happened over the last year is what we're calling our Community Caregiver Collective.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So through a partnership with Thriving Families, through CFSA, we've been able to, certify about 38 families to date, maybe 19 more actually just occurred. So we're over the 50 mark there, getting our families certified in the Nurturing Parenting Program, which is just helping parents right now navigate how difficult it is to raise children with all the different various new things going on, technology in particular, some of the disengagement that we've seen with school post-COVID, all of those things, and really more importantly, just creating a community with each other. Coming into the space twice a week, sharing stories, getting advice, support, that's been really amazing. I just listened to somebody the other day calling a new cohort. It was in my office and they were in the room, and every single phone call, and this was one of our interns made, every single intern, it was a positive response, and the parent was saying, I'm coming in, I want to be a part of this. So it's really, it's really gained some traction, and we're excited about that because I think one of the things that we're going to have to do in the next few years as we navigate some of this uncertainty is really come together even stronger as a community. And so this will be the thing that allows us to do that.
That's great.
Yeah.
And, Kil was giving me a tour. As you said, everything's very intentional here. The kids come in, and tell me how it works.
Well, the kids will come in, they'll come off the bus, and kind of like you said with the tour, the first thing we do is making sure that they have a snack. And we're trying to make sure that they have healthy snacks too. You know what I mean? So that's the back and forth. But we want to start promoting those seeds too of like healthy eating habits and things like that. The kids will come in, start working on some of their homework, or they may go straight to tutoring. But then probably about 15 to 20 minutes later, we do provide hot meals also through a partnership with DC Central Kitchen to make sure that our kids eat. Because a lot of times. Some of the kids may not eat. They only eat if they go to school. What if they didn't go to school today?
I was going to say, people, if they're off from school, I know you were here shoveling out when we were talking earlier. You're trying to make sure they can get here.
Yeah, that was the big thing from the snow. We got to make sure they have a pathway in. We don't want anybody slipping and falling. So it's always making sure how can we provide the best space and everything for them, because and I kind of touch on that in the documentary. You want to make the space, but you also want to make sure that the programming is there also, because I always say people come where their needs are being met. So we just want to always make sure, especially with our families too, that the needs are being met. And then, again, I've said this a million times, but what I love about it and why I've been here so long is because we're putting our arms around the whole community. Because it's not just about if you're in Horton's Kids. If you live in these communities, you have access to, food bags, family supplies, household items, diapers, So it's not just about if you're in the Horton's Kids program. We want to support the entire community. And
you really are. Also, one of the podcasts you just did was about financial aid and college admissions, and you have your den down there. You're showing me all the, college flags, and you're getting ready to do, talking about where people want to go to school. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, the J. Cole episode, shout out to J. Cole, not the rapper. I always have to say that. But he was just a great partnership.
He's with McLean School in Maryland, right?
Oh, yeah. And through a partnership with Going Global with Barbara, we just sent, 12?
Nine kids to Paris. Over Thanksgiving. That's fabulous.
Yes. Right. So through a partnership, that's her husband. So we were talking when we were sending the kids off, and I was just telling him, about our kids in college and just the things that kind of sometimes will hold them back. So, he wanted to come in, and it was a great episode to just talk through what college looks like, because for a lot of times our kids may not be thinking college, they may not know what has to happen to. And then again, it's not just the education of the children, it's also the education of some of the families. From doing this work, I've been doing this work for 26 years in DC. And I've seen that some of the parents don't know what has to happen to go to college as far as SATs and how do you look for different things like that. So, the prayer is that episode can help anyone see, okay, this is how I can afford college. Because I think that's the first thing that comes to mind is, can I even afford this? And there are ways for you to be able to afford it. And I think J. Cole does a great job during that episode explaining how to navigate it. And it's literally like, I always look at Horton's kids like it's a GPS. You know, when you look at a GPS, the first thing you have to say is, where do you want to go? And you can't just say, I want to go to the mall. You have to say, I want to go to Annapolis Mall, it's at this location. And then it's going to ask you, well, where are you at right now? And that where you at is like, what are the things that may be holding you back? And then once you say, you give your phone permission, yes, you can see where I am, that's when the directions start.
I love that.
So I think a lot of times in life that's where it is. People don't know where they exactly want to go. It's like, hey, I want to go to college, but for what? Like, now I got to peel back the onion some. Okay, and what's preventing you from doing that? Oh, well, we don't have the money, or are my grades good enough? Well, now we know what we need to start checking off. Now we can start giving you direction. So prayerfully, that's the goal of the HK Couch, is to be able to give people direction and be that GPS to get people where they want to go.
So that episode, any parent could listen to that.
Any parent, I mean,
was amazing.
We want to shout, oh, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say the corollary to that is also the career pathway piece, because college isn't always a choice that kids want to make. And there's a lot of other interests and passions. And so part of what we also do over the summer is we have internships, so kids get that real world experience. And a lot of times those are partners of ours. They're board members, they're organizations that have come into the fold, they're corporations that have volunteered over time. So they're getting really amazing experiences because of the relationships that they've built previously, that I think really set kids in directions that are going to feel fulfilling and meaningful and aligned with their talents and their interests. So it's very comprehensive in that way too.
For our audience to plug in when you're listening.
That's right.
This would be a great way. And Erica, you've got this amazing staff, all these wonderful volunteers and board, but you took a step and you said that you've been doing that for a while, of reaching out to have other people come in and kind of assess and give you some ideas. Can you share with us? That's also been happening in the past year.
Well, we call that some of our scenario planning work that we've done, and we've done it in partnership with 20 Degrees and Marriott Foundation, pulling together folks to really look at how organizations can sustain over time, and actually how they can look at opportunities even when there's a lot of uncertainty and challenge. And so part of that is always looking at your team and your human capital and trying to figure out where everybody is going to maximize their own skills and talents. Kil and I talk about this a lot, like what are people's superpowers? And when we figure out what that is, let's amplify it as much as possible. I've been doing this work for a long time like Kil, and I've just learned that that's how you really create the strongest teams.
Can you share with our audience something that you think you've learned, one of the biggest things you've learned?
I mean, I think that really you can't, I think there's some foundational things that you need, as you come into this work, but if, you kind of learn early on where people gravitate. And I think it's not necessarily the avoidance of the things that are on the list that they're not getting to, it's really the draw and the passion towards the things that they feel they can really do well and they can really contribute meaningfully towards. And so lean into those things and figure out how to get those other things done with minimal, damage or heartache. I think the other thing, and this is important about killing the kids, and why I think so many people who watch, this podcast, people who are in this work and understand how difficult it is, it's about thinking about the people that are doing the work and the toll that it takes. Kil says we wrap our arms around the community. Those arms get tired. They need a lot of strengthening. They need a lot of support. There's a lot that you navigate, especially when you've been in it for a long time. So really thinking about how you take care of people that are working in service of others. And, sometimes we can take it for granted because we push ourselves, we push each other. But, we really have to think about, as a sector, as organizations, as people, as leaders, how we do that.
And it kind of goes back into the battery, checking your battery that we talked about downstairs.
That. Yeah, downstairs.
And just that presentation of understanding of where you at, where's your battery at? And how do you bounce back from those things? And again, we've given the analogy of, the cell phone, and you just know if your cell phone's dying, I just need to get a charger. But you want to see people panic? Don't have a charger. That's when people will panic. And it's the same thing. It's kind of like, how do you know when your battery is getting drained? And that's the first thing you kind of have to understand. And again, with your cell phone, it's easy. You can look at the battery and you see it. You see you're at 10%, and then the panic sets in, especially if you don't have your charger. But in doing this work, how do you know that? So it's kind of like, even myself, I I realize when I'm not very talkative, okay, my battery is coming down. Because normally I'm gonna come in, speak to everybody. How was your weekend? What's
Can't
going
imagine
on?
Kill on a low battery.
Yo, it happens.
It's hard to detect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But no, of course it happens.
But it happens,
to all
but
of
then
us.
like you have to realize how you get it back. And like I was sharing with you, we did a session with a family and just seeing the changes and seeing those aha moments, it was like, oh, my battery's back to 100. And it's like, that's what it is for me. Like even with this new chief of staff role, I still have to find the time to still be able to touch those kids and touch those parents and see that change so that can get it back up. And that's what we have to do as an organization, as leaders. We have to be able to see, and Erica's great like this. She's like a great NBA scout. She's like, she sees what your superpowers are and she's gonna put you in the right positions to win. So we just wanna make sure that our staff understands like how your battery is getting drained and how to bring it back, you know, so yeah.
They need you and you want them to feel your energy.
Yeah.
Erica, you talked about superpowers. Can you just share with us maybe what some of the families, their superpowers are, what you have found?
I mean, I think definitely for the families, the superpowers are just being such incredible advocates for their kids. Like really doing whatever it takes, figuring out what resource to try to access, who to talk to, how to maneuver in ways that are absolutely incredible and humbling, you know? So I just have seen that over and over again. And I think that's why we really talk a lot about making sure people understand that we are partnering with families who are really in many ways leading us down this path, letting us know, you know, how it is you work through these barriers, you know, what kind of support will be most beneficial, let us tell you. And so we really are committed to that. We have our parent advisory councils, now our Community Caregiver Collective, our Youth Advisory Council, just all the ways in which we can make sure that we are being led and we understand and that we can learn from what folks have been doing for a long time.
Yeah.
And when you walk into this space and you hear the kids, can you just describe that?
I mean, it's the best feeling, you know, especially when because again, the space is here and the program is here, but it's also allowing kids the opportunity to talk. I think that's the thing, like throughout the day, the kids are just, from the time they wake up, they're going, you know, but how was your day? You know, oh, it was fine, Kill. No, give me one good thing and give me one bad thing that happened. Like really starting to help the kids to build out their feelings, because when they don't get that, then you just get adults who don't know how to express their feelings. So it's really about, again, I'm always go back to my seed analogy. It's about planting, it's about watering, it's about getting to the harvest. So it's making sure that we have that going, you know, and again, you know, because Erica's eye for talent, it's like, Kill, even chief of staff, hey, I graduated from a CBI program in the University of Chicago and I won my capstone for a hip hop curriculum, you know, and Erica was like, yo, you gotta make time to do that, you know, and it gives kids a space to be able, I have hundreds of rap lyrics and it's kind of like, you know, we'll pick out one lyric and we'll talk about that. That'll be the discussion piece for the day. And it's giving kids an opportunity to learn how to really pick what they're feeling at that time, you know, because again, it's similar to Steph Curry's book that I was talking about. You think it's all physical, but it's also mental. You know, at the top of the year, everybody's in the gym. We in the gym, but are you in therapy? You know, are we doing both? And it has to be, so we can have great programming, but if we're not talking with the kids and allowing the kids to understand how to express themselves, we have to do both. And that's another thing that I think that we do a great job of, is making the time for that, so.
Yeah. How about you, Erica? What is your, when you hear the kids, when you come into the hub?
It's funny because I used to be on the other side of the office, which is sort of the bullpen, so to speak, and I requested that my office be moved to the den, which is where the kids are. And so every day at around 4:15, the room fills up, and I love it. And people are like, is it loud? I'm like, I love it. I keep my door open, sometimes not, if I really have to focus, but I listen to what's happening. I pop out, I engage in a way that I hadn't been able to previously, and that's where I come from. I mean, I'm a social worker by training. I worked with kids for many, many years. I ran programs, built programs, so I'm sort of back in my sweet spot.
I love that.
And it really, I think it fills me up and keeps me really focused on the mission in a way that I'm thankful for.
Right.
That's so awesome. And of course, we just appreciate all that your encouragement. And thanks for the shout out. So glad that there were some seeds planted from our podcast that allowed you all to do a few.
We're Good has definitely been a huge partner for us. And I think that's what it's about. like Erica touched on earlier, it's not about, we're not doing this for your kids, we're in partnership. Like, this is a relationship now. We have a relationship with you to let's talk about what we can do for your kids. So, and that's really what's about in the work that we do. Horton's kids can't do everything, which is why we have our quarterly task force meetings, which happen quarterly throughout the year, where we bring other organizations all together and we kind of talk about, hey, what's going on? What are you seeing? How are you adapting to this and dealing with that? Because we can't do this by ourselves, you know, so it is about community. So thank you so much with We're Good.
Oh, no, thank you. Ripple effect, right? That's what we always talk about. And okay, so Kil, do you want me to get out of the chair?
No, because I got a question for you.
I'm going to, we're going to flip this and we're going to let you ask a question about the We're Good podcast team.
Now, one of the things about me, I've always been a big comic book head when I was little, and I've always loved the origin stories. And I know the origin story of We're Good was, you know, there's all this bad news going on in the world, but you guys knew that there were positive things happening, which is, you know, we're good. We're in good hands almost. What would you say is your biggest, are you surprised by how good we are? You know, because we see the work, but are you guys surprised? You know, I love the origin of how it started, but for you right now, so many episodes later, are you like, are we really good? Like, how are you?
I'm better. You know, I think we talk about, and I'm here today, the co-founders are with us. Tanya LaForce is behind the camera, and Mary Ellen Chandler is with us in the room. And so I'm so excited that the whole team is here to hear this, because I think I will say for us that someone told us, wow, you get to meet all the heroes. You get to meet all these great people doing great things. And we have found that we just knew a quarter of the good that's going on, just a little bit. Because when we sit down with you all, like just before, you were going, oh, Lee Ann, you need to talk to so-and-so.
Exactly.
And that's what we will find when the camera is off and the lights go down. They'll say, have you talked to this organization? Have you talked to... And so we thought we knew the landscape. It's large and it's vast, and there's a lot of good out there. And we are incredibly grateful that we get to tell the stories. And as we said, it doesn't mean we're not talking about hard topics, because that's what you're taking on. And that's what you, as you said, Erica, that is what you're trying to do, is be that resource and be those people to find people to help them find their superpowers and to find their way. And there's vast need out there. But we are just really thankful for people sharing their stories. People have shared their journeys with us. And I know you know, Kil, when you sit on the couch and people start opening up, it's been an amazing journey. And we're really thankful for the first year, and we just want to keep going. But because of you all believing in us and encouraging us and saying, yeah, we'll sit down for an interview, Lee Ann. Thank you. Thank you for all you're doing here. And thanks to all of our guests who've been on this wonderful podcast ride with us. And we look forward to so many more. We've got a great slate coming up, so we want people to listen. But thanks for that awesome question.
I mean, one of the things that in another book that I read by God, Sham God, he said, you know, I don't believe in coincidence. I believe in God's providence. You know, and that's just the connection of the dots. You know, and it was, you guys were getting started with yours. We were getting started with the HK Couch and our media lab. Shout out to In a Perfect World and Norman, one of our board members. But it's just everybody meeting at the right time and just all the pieces of the puzzle. I look at life as just pieces of puzzle all coming together and fitting at the right time. So again, you guys having us on was just perfect. So
it's been perfect, and we appreciate the partnership is amazing. I hope we're part of the Hortons family now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us. It's hard to wrap this one up. I'm getting a little emotional because this has been a fun ride.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for having us in here to your space.
You are so welcome.
Thank
your
you for
home.
coming.
Anytime.
Away from home. Thank you. It's been great to be here at the Hub. And of course, we want all of you to be sure and listen to that first episode. Also, we want you to listen to Killing the Kids. We're going to link all of this on our website, we'regood.net. We really hope you will take the time, because all of it is worth listening to these wonderful stories. Thank you so much for having us, and thank you for listening. As we like to say, we're good and you're good. We can all make a difference.